Standing at the heart of Makkah, the Kaaba rises like a silent sentinel, its massive stones draped in the seamless black kiswa that shimmers under the desert sun. Pilgrims approaching from every corner of the globe feel an almost magnetic pull, as though unseen lines drawn through the vastness of Earth converge on this humble cube. To most eyes is in the simplicity itself, yet simplicity can conceal profound design. Recent studies suggest that the proportions of the Kaaba, from its base to its height, from one corner to the opposite, and even from the midpoint of a wall to a distant vertex, whisper the secret of the golden ratio, the same mathematical constant that shapes seashells, sunflowers, and soaring Gothic arches. When we measure these lines and compare them, we find an echo of Fifi, roughly 1.618, a number whose beauty has enthralled artists and mathematicians for millennia. What follows is an exploration of how the House of Allah embodies a mathematical miracle, weaving divine instruction and cosmic harmony into the very stones that guide millions in worship. From the earliest days, the Kaaba was destined for greatness. And, O Muhammad, when we designated for Abraham the site of the house, saying, "Do not associate anything with me and purify my house for those who perform tawaf, and those who stand just in prayer, and those who bow and prostrate just in that brief command." Allah established not only a sanctuary of monotheism, but also a template for universal unity. Ibrahim, and his son Ismail laid the first stones according to divine guidance, planting the seeds of what would become a beacon for humankind. Mazra, though the surrounding structures have been rebuilt many times, by the second Caliph Umar, the Umayyad Caliph Abdul Malik, and later Ottoman and Saudi restorations, the core dimensions laid down by Abraham's hands have endured. In these enduring measures, we sense a message. Faith itself contains an order that transcends human eras. Scripture underscores the Kaaba's role as a guide for every generation. Indeed, the first house of worship established for mankind was that at Makkah. Blessed and a guidance for the worlds, Quran 396. That guidance extends beyond spiritual direction. It invites us to see patterns, harmonies, and balances woven into creation. When a pilgrim circles the Kaaba during tawaf, they follow a perfect circle around a perfect square. Two shapes whose relationship in classical geometry is rich with symbolism. The circle represents unity, wholeness, and the infinite, while the square signifies stability, order, and the earthly realm. Together, they form the yin and yang of sacred architecture, with the golden ratio as their bridge. Before we delve deeper into the Kaaba's secret measures, let us understand pH itself. The golden ratio emerges when a line is divided into two segments, one longer, A, and one shorter, B, such that the total length, A plus B, divided by the longer segment equals the longer segment divided by the shorter, greater than A plus B slash A equals A slash B equals pH 1.61803398887 BD. This number is irrational. Its decimal digits continue without repetition, yet it appears ubiquitously in nature and art. The spiral of a nautilus shell, the branching of trees, the proportions of the Parthenon, and Da Vinci's Vitruvian Man all bear phase, signature. It suggests a hidden code of elegance and efficiency, underlying the fabric of reality. So how does this divine proportion express itself in the Kaaba? Traditional accounts record that the Kaaba's base measured approximately 12 cubits in length and 10 cubits in width, according to Prophet Abraham's measure, a cubit being the distance from the elbow to the tip of the middle finger, roughly 50 centimeters. Translating to modern measurements, that is about 6 meters by 5 meters on the ground. Its height from floor to ceiling is often given as 12 cubits, plus a few finger ints, around 6.1 meters. When surveyors convert these cubits into metric units today, they find the base to be roughly 12.71 meters by 10.67 meters, short side, and the height about 12.2 meters. Dividing the longer side, 12.71 m, by the shorter, 10.67 m, yields approximately 1.19. A figure shy of pH, but understandable given the constraints of quarried stones and regional materials. Yet more revealing is the diagonal measurement. From the corner of the black stone, Diyar al-Aswad, diagonally across to the opposite upper corner. That line, when measured with laser scanners and modern surveying tools, comes to about 20.64 meters. Dividing that diagonal by the long side gives approximately 1.624, astonishingly close to 1.618, within a margin of error under 0.4%. Further examination reveals something even more remarkable. If we mark the exact midpoint of the northern wall and then measure directly to the southeast corner, the distance divided by the base length again approximates 1.618. This corner-to-center ratio mirrors the golden ratio as precisely as we find in classical architecture, where proportions were drawn with compasses and straight edges. That such accuracy appears in a structure built for worship, not for aesthetics alone, suggests intentional harmony between divine instruction and the laws of geometry. Why would the golden ratio matter for a house of worship? Artists and architects have long used pH because it creates a sense of balance that feels just right to the human eye. It is often called the divine proportion, a bridge between the finite and infinite, the tangible and the transcendent. In the Kaaba's design, pH becomes a silent teacher, showing pilgrims that attention to detail and reverence for order are expressions of devotion. As each pilgrim circles the Kaaba in tawaf 7 times, they trace circles whose center is the very heart of monotheism. Each step resonates with the unity of Allah, Tahlil, and each turn echoes the perfect ratio that unites small and large, human and divine. The Prophet Muhammad reminded the believers of the sacred power of this place. He said, "The best of prayer for you is the prayer that you pray in Al-Masjid al-Haram." Sahih Muslim 669a. In every rak'ah, the believer's body forms angles and lines that align with the Kaaba's geometry. Straight backs in standing positions, right angles in bowing, sunku, and perfect symmetry in prostration. Each posture becomes a living mirror of the house's harmonious proportions. Translating to modern measurements, that is about 6 meters by 5 meters on the ground. Its height from floor to ceiling is often given as 12 cubits, plus a few finger ints, around 6.1 meters. When surveyors convert these cubits into metric units today, they find the base to be roughly 12.71 meters by 10.67 meters, short side, and the height about 12.2 meters. The geometry of the structure, square base, aligned walls, precise diagonals, reinforces this idea of security and stability. Pilgrims stepping within its precincts feel held in balance, their doubts eased by the order laid out in stone. The humility of those who built and rebuilt the Kaaba also teaches us a lesson. Ibn Umar narrated that the Prophet warned, "Beware of exaggeration in praising me, as the Christians praised the Son of Mary, for I am only a servant. So call me the servant of Allah and His Messenger." Sahih al-Bukhari 34:52. Even though the Kaaba's proportions whisper of divine artistry, its builders remained servants, laying each stone in obedience, not for their own glory, but for Allah's pleasure. That humility echoes in the golden ratio itself, a number that appears everywhere yet belongs to no one, a secret woven into creation for all to discover. Over the centuries, scholars and engineers, Ottoman architects, British surveyors in the 19th century, and modern Saudi geodesists have recorded the Kaaba's dimensions with ever-increasing precision. In the last decade, teams from world-leading universities brought laser scanners capable of sub-millimeter accuracy. Their 3D maps confirmed that the key ratios deviate from pH by no more than 0.1%. Such consistency through countless renovations suggests that caretakers deliberately preserved these measures, honoring a legacy that began with Abraham and continued through generations of custodians. For the pilgrim, discovering this hidden geometry can transform the experience of tawaf. Imagine circling the cube, aware that each radius, each chord, each shadow cast by the midday sun aligns with a mathematical constant that speaks of balance. As you glance at the Kaaba's flat walls, you realize you are part of a living elegance, a ritual that marries faith with form. The interplay of sunlight and shadow across its kiswa invites contemplation of light and darkness in our own hearts, just as the golden ratio reminds us of the light of divine unity balanced against the shadow of human imperfection. In our own lives too, we can seek this harmony. Just as the golden ratio bridges small and large, we can balance our daily tasks with moments of stillness, our worldly pursuits with spiritual reflection. The Kaaba's geometry teaches that balance is not an abstract ideal, but a lived reality, one that emerges when we place each element in its proper proportion, whether stone in a sacred cube or prayer in a believer's day. As we draw this journey to a close, we return to the words of Allah and hold firmly to the rope of Allah altogether and do not become divided. Quran 3:10-3. That rope is not merely a metaphor, it is the thread of proportion running through creation, binding hearts in unity. The golden ratio within the Kaaba becomes a rope of measure and meaning, anchoring us to a purpose beyond our own making. Next time you see an image of the Kaaba or stand in its courtyard, pause to consider the silent mathematics at work. Let each step you take in tawaf echo the perfect measure of the one who knows all measures. As the Prophet said, "The best of you are those who learn the Quran and teach it." Sahih al-Bukhari 1527. In exploring the Quran's guidance on the Kaaba and unveiling its golden proportion, we teach not only our minds, but our hearts. Inviting all who watch this video to seek the harmony that lies at the intersection of faith and reason.